The National Broadcasting Company at this time wishes to thank the editors and publishers of Galaxy Magazine for a special award which has just been presented to the program X-1. The award cites X-1 for the outstanding adaptation and the original method of presentation of adult science fiction stories to the vast audience that has shown increasing interest in this newest form of journalism. The NBC Radio Network is proud to receive this citation on behalf of X-1. NBC is also happy to acknowledge the enthusiastic response and support of the listening audience to this program. Your many letters of encouragement and constructive criticism are always gratefully received. Your criticisms carefully noted, and whenever possible, your suggestions acted upon. Please listen at the end of this program for a special free offer. And now, X-1. Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come transcribed tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company presents X-1.
Tonight's story, Protective Mimicry, by Algis Budrys.
Frankly, I think I'll probably have to take my expense account clear up to the Central Gallic Civil Service Board. My friends tell me to forget it. But take it from me, a rap in the credit book like this isn't easy to laugh off. Not on a grade 4 civil service pay scale. So I've made my beef out in quadruplicate and filed it. Usually, a special agent in United Galactic Federation's Department of the Treasury, Investigations Division, Currency Section, doesn't have much trouble with his swindle sheet. But this one's a corker. To understand, you got to know how they make the stuff. The Ungallic Mint is in New Geneva on Canopus 3. I remember I went around with the 40 Deci credit tour when I first joined the staff. The guide was a cute little brunette from one of the Rim stars who was later fired following an annual Pan Solstice office party. I didn't pay much attention to her spiel. She was dressed in the new neo-Minoan style, but I got the general idea.
This is a demonstration machine, of course, but you will notice the indestructible fiber coming off that spool at the right. It goes into the slot in the machine there. Now, if you'll pass along, you see it goes between those two rollers through 6 or 7 chemical baths. No, I'm not sure what chemicals. That's restricted information. It's stamped, analyzed for flaws, dyed, and then run through this unit here. This is the most carefully guarded part of the process. The unit is removed from the plant each night and locked in the deep space vault on the satellite station directly overhead. After the strip emerges here, it is chopped into convenient lengths and carefully removed into armored cars. It is called money.
What does that secret unit do?
Well, that's a very good question. You see, the currency is non-defacable, fireproof, immune to wear, weather, and water. But the most important thing is an electronic pattern impressed into the fiber by that secret pattern. You all know when you cash a bill, it is passed over an electronic plate that reads the pattern. If the serial number and the pattern match, well, but if they don't, well, first I'll put an ordinary credit note over the beeper. There. Perfectly good. Now, a simulated counterfeit bill without the electronic pattern. Well, now, that wouldn't fool anybody long, would it?
Could anybody duplicate that electronic pattern?
Well, that's a very good question. Only the government has the equipment to put that in. Your currency is safe and sound. Don't you worry about that. Are there any more questions?
Yeah. How about a drink after the tour?
Well, Oh, that's That's a very good question.
It sure was. So was the answer. Well, getting back to money. The engraving, the chemical composition of the ink and the fiber would be tough enough to duplicate. But that electronic pattern snaps the clincher on it. That's why Chief Inspector Saxgard of my division looked sourly at me when I came into his office and spread a fistful of credit notes on his desk.
What's that?
What's it look like?
A handful of 50s. Why?
Put a couple of them over your beeper plate.
Okay. Well, they're perfectly okay. What's it all about?
Look at the serial numbers.
3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, M.
Look at the others.
3, 4, 5, 6, 5... What? Let me see them.
Save your eyes. They're all the same. 14 50-credit notes with identical serial numbers.
That's impossible.
And every one of them goes over a beeper plate quiet as a sophomore climbing into a dormitory window after hours.
Baumholzer, where did you get these?
They came into the New York Clearinghouse from a branch on Deneb 11. The manager blew his top. He called us the minute he spotted them and sent them out to us.
How about the manager? Is he blabbing all over the Bankers Club about it?
I read the Ungallic Riot Act to him. He'll keep it under his hat.
Good. At least we won't have any financial panics for a while. Have you checked these through the lab?
Well, the ink and paper is government stock, and they match government beepers. The lab plates didn't squawk any more than yours did. Now, you could spend these anywhere as long as you only pass them one at a time.
Baumholzer, you know, since the beeper plate came in, we've been sitting on our tails in this department, building up our pensions.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Neither would I outside this office. But you know darn well nobody can expect to counterfeit a bill and get away with it. It's only because throughout the universe there's a certain percentage of people who will try anything once, and a corresponding percentage of purblind idiots who will accept anything with engraving on it as money that we're here at all. Now, I've seen cigar coupons and crayon sketches come into this office. I've seen premium offers from household magazines, jet bus transfers, where some people would try to pick a Yale lock with a quarter of a pound of butter. Now, the only reason any queer can pass is because some goggle-eyed nudnik neglects to use his beeper plate. But I worry. For 15 years, I've sat in this stinking office and waited for somebody to invent a matter duplicator.
Well, looks like you can stop worrying. Look at those bills, identical down to the whiskey stain in the corner.
All right, Baumholzer, you call transportation and get out to Deneb 11 and find out if anybody in that neighborhood has a matter duplicator, or if he hasn't, what he has got.
I picked up the department shuttle to the satellite and made fair connections up to Deneb 11. It's a 4-day run on drive, and I get free fall 6, so I was glad to hit the port in Glub, which, so help me, is the name of the only city on the place. Deneb 11 is what we call in the department a mud ball. It's a jungle world with an atmosphere like a swatch of Harris tweed. I was smoking a cigarette when I got off the shuttle, and the air I pulled in made the smoke taste like well-decayed leaf mold. I was wringing wet 2 minutes after I left the air-conditioned port. I noticed the local costume would get you arrested on any beach in the galaxy, but it didn't matter since there's nothing titillating about pasty skin dripping with weary perspiration. I checked in with the regional office and found the resident agent tinkering with his air conditioner.
Hi, Baumholzer. You know anything about the sealed power pack on this condenser?
Yeah, if you keep banging at it like that, you'll crack the seal on the atomic shielding, and your posterity will thank you. 3 heads at a time.
Oh, I guess I better not fool with it. Now, take off your pants and pull up a chair.
I don't mind if I do. Is it always this humid?
Oh, no. In the hot season, it's worse. I'd send for a replacement part, but the fax line isn't too reliable. The last time I sent for a sealed unit, they shipped back an overaged sea lion.
Yeah, I know. I was on Polar Station on Ganymede when my heater element broke down. I faxed for 3 feet of element, and they shipped me back 3 fetal elephants.
Yeah. Well, I suppose you're here about the queer bills, huh?
Yeah. Got any lines on it?
Well, my orders will lay off and let the central office handle it. Be my guest.
Any ideas?
No. Where do you figure to start?
Well, this is the only city. I'll have to check it out. Have you got a list of authorized beeper plates?
Somewhere. Let's see here. Oh, look out.
Why?
There's a whittle fly on your arm.
Hey, how does a thing that size get through the filters?
Insects on Deneb are tricky. This one is a non-filterable virus in the larval stage, Then it blows up to this size. Carve his initials in your arm if he gets a good bite. That's why he's called a whittle fly.
The whittle fly was only one of the darlings that made the fair city of Glub a garden spot. They had one cute little tyke called the laboratory beetle, because when he bit you, he typed your blood and followed you around for days getting refills. I had one take a sample of me as I went out the door of the residency with a list of beeper plates, and he followed me from store to store while I checked every installation in the city. The little devil would step up to the bar every once and again to take another shot of my hemoglobin. I even tried ducking into men's rooms fast, but he'd be waiting for me when I came out. Well, I slogged through Glub for 3 days and then poured myself back into the residence office. Did he come in?
Who?
The laboratory beetle.
No, they usually hang around in the hall and wait. Sometimes when I've got a poker game going, you can see 3 or 4 of the little angels buzzing around outside waiting like chauffeurs outside the opera.
Wow.
You draw a blank?
Well, I found 7 defective beeper plates, but nobody remembers any queer bills being passed. You know, who checks serial numbers? They must have come in one at a time. And the clerks at the bank always were out to lunch and referred me to the next guy. You got any lotion for insect bites?
Desk drawer.
In a way, the beeper plates make it tougher. Nobody even looks at the bills anymore. Just throw them over the plate, and if no bells ring, it's okay.
Well, how about the other angle?
Matter duplicator? I checked invoices and purchase records. Nobody's been buying electronic parts that can't account for every tube. I thought I had something. One fellow bought 12 of those giant lithium cathode tubes, but it turned out his wife was having them wired as lamp bases. Well, I better be going. I hate to keep my little insect friend out there in suspense as to cocktail time.
You got another lead?
Yeah, I found a bar that makes a Tom Collins with real lemon juice instead of battery acid. I managed to duck my lab beetle in a revolving door. He went around twice and shot out into the street, so I settled down at a table at the bar and tried to make believe that I couldn't taste Den of 11 atmosphere in my Tom Collins. I was chewing on an ice cube when I looked up.
Mr. Baumholzer,
That's right.
I want to talk to you about money.
He was a terrestrial, but he'd been on Deneb a long time because he was wearing the native garment about the size of a 5-pound sugar sack. His hair, which was potato field gray, was arranged in the old-fashioned Presley style. You know, the ancient long sideburns, duck's tail in the rear that vice presidents wear in family-style banks. His ears had little bits of bone stuck in them, and his eyebrows wandered all over his face, and he stood about 6'8". And I waited him out, and presently he spoke up again.
You are the same, Mr. Baumholzer, who's been going around asking all those questions about duplicate ungallic notes?
That's right. Can I help you, Mr.
Munger, Duodecimus Munger.
Now, this bid's fair to be fascinating. I was under the impression that my mission here was just a wee bit on the secret side.
There are no secrets in Glub.
Now, won't you pull up a chair, Mr. Munger?
I'm afraid I haven't time.
Well, join me in a drink.
Are you really the Mr. Baumholzer that's working on this case for the Treasury Department?
Yeah, sure. Hey, you're not the fellow that's turning out these duplicates, are you?
Well, as a matter of fact, I am.
What?
And don't move. This is a Power 30 Mistral coagulator I have.
Look out with that thing. You've got it pointed at my head.
Yes, I've got it set on high charge. It will fuse your brain solid.
Well, what else is new?
Now, Mr. Baumholzer, stay right behind that table.
Now, let's not make any rash decisions now.
Well, I can't very well see how I could let you live.
Oh, come on. Try. All right, now drop the gun.
I'm afraid we'll be collecting a crowd.
Give me that. Don't try to pick it up.
I won't. I had something completely different in mind. Just like in those ancient legends the archaeologists keep digging up, the ones with the hard-boiled detective and the beautiful blonde, I felt the traditional roof fall in on the back of my head. As I went black, I remember thinking how odd it was that it was happening to me some 500 years after Spillane the Scrivener. I came to in the same archaic fashion with my head going around in a free orbit around my neck.
Baumholzer, are you all right?
I can't see. I'm blind. Everything's black.
Well, open your eyes.
Oh. Where is he?
Who?
The guy who slugged me. What am I doing back at your office?
Oh, some bartender brought you in. I thought you passed out from too much lemon juice.
It was a guy named Munger. Which way did he go?
Beats me. Munger? Tall feller in native dress?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you might as well forget about it.
Why?
Well, I can order a pickup on him next time he's in town. They'll sock him away in a psycho ward for a while. Forget it.
Look, I am not an old lady calling up complaining that the nasty delinquents are teasing my cats. That Munger's tied in with the queer.
Him?
He said he was the passer.
Well, that can't be. Munger.
You got a file on him?
Yeah. I get a number of complaints on him, so do the local cops. Well, I didn't want to make trouble. He's a very wealthy man.
I'll bet. What does he do?
Well, he's a merchant or something at a native village. Once or twice a year he comes out and paints the town, but a counterfeiter?
I would like to talk to him again with the Mistral in my hand.
He had a Mistral? Well, that's a violation of a municipal ordinance. You're supposed to check him at the quarantine
Look,
gate.
I'm not investigating parking tickets and violations of the anti-noise laws. This is a counterfeiting case. Now, do you know where I can find him?
Well, he's probably gone back to his village.
Where's that?
Out in the jungle.
All right, get out your rubbers, friend. We're going out after him. Suppose you fill your bathtub full of mud, build a fire under it, turn on the shower, and crawl in and wallow a little. Do that, and you've got a fair idea of the Denebian jungle. I went out with Hall, the resident agent, and we started off.
Stick close, Baumholzer. Visibility is about 10 feet.
I'll eat everything I can see within 10 feet. Ow!
What happened?
I walked into a tree. Help me up out of the mud. We puddled on for a couple of hours. The rain was so thick I didn't see the trees until I bounced off of them and sat down in the warm mud. I reflected as I struggled to my feet what a terrible waste. In the beauty salons of Charles of the Ritz Asteroid, ladies from all over the galaxy paid thousands of credits for hot mud baths to take the wrinkles out and make their skin smooth and caressable. And here was I getting a much more thorough treatment every time I sat down. They issue a lot of special equipment from department stores, and it all functioned perfectly. My neo-latex galoshes were fine, but stuck in the mud. My Minipower goggles and wipers kept my eyes clear, but they didn't keep me from crashing into every tree. My leak-proof sportsman's flashlight stayed dry as a bone, but powerful as it was, it couldn't light up more than 3 feet in the pelting rain. Paul, the resident, led the way, consulting a compass and a waterproof map, and finally we stopped, and I noticed that there wasn't any rain coming down on me.
It's a rain shelter. The natives build them.
Kind of them.
Well, they're on all the trails. If you go more than a day in the rain, you go punchy from water drumming on your hat.
I believe it.
Well, now, don't sit down. You'll sink in.
I don't know. Theoretically, a broader base should keep you from sinking like snowshoes.
Well, also increases the suction.
I'll stand. How far is Munger's village?
Either 2 miles or 22. I can't read the map very well.
Hey, wait a minute. Listen.
Well, that's the rain.
No. You hear that squelching? Somebody's coming.
Oh, yeah. From over there.
Natives?
Maybe.
There he comes.
Well, we've got first pick on the shelter. It's a native tradition. First come, first dry.
Yeah, there's somebody out there, all right.
Who's there? Who is it?
A friend of mine, Mr. Baumholzer.
All right, Munger. Where did you come from?
Don't move. I have several friends pointing long spears at your kidney.
Ole! Ole!
Shall we go, gentlemen, back to my village? I believe you were looking for it.
Munger was so intent on me that he didn't seem to notice as Hall sidled off into the darkness, and when he did, he set up a desperate cackle. He had a few of his fraternity brothers chase down the trail with spears waving wildly, but they came back murmuring some kind of a Choctaw, which seemed to carry the implication that Hall had gotten away like a big-bottomed turtle.
Well, Mr. Baumholzer, your companion's action has saved your life for a while.
Yeah, he'll bring back a platoon of Marines, and they'll reduce that village to a bullion cube.
We'll just have to hold you as a hostage in case help should arrive.
Thanks.
At any rate, shall we get back to the village?
He had about 10 natives with him, each one about 7 foot tall, with those big, flat feet that evolved on Deneb for walking in primordial ooze. They were dressed in the standard native loincloth with matching accessories, namely 10-foot spears. When, as we started out along the trail, I got a good look at Munger's loincloth, it was composed of tastefully arranged 1,000-credit notes. Well, by the time we got back to the village, the rain had stopped. The humidity, of course, was still 120%, and the only difference was that the moisture just loitered around rather than actually falling. There was some kind of a clam bake going on in the village. The natives were pounding a couple of drums, and as far as I could see, getting rapidly stinko on some kind of jungle juice that they passed around in huge gourds.
They were leaping and dancing, and as far as I could tell, doing snappy sayings and fancy patter as I sat on some kind of a low mushroom and tried to ignore the 2 spears that were pressed against my throat. It felt as if a nervous barber was trying to shave me with his razor tied on the end of a 10-foot pole. After a bit, Munger strode up to me with all the dignity of the lord of the jungle, and he waved the spears a foot away, pulled up a mushroom, and sat down.
Actually, that wasn't a native rhythm at all. The original Danubian music is a kind of quiet, flute-like melody, something like Mozart.
That didn't sound very flute-like.
Yes, I know. One of the first terrestrial anthropologists out here to study the Denebs took recordings of their music, and then to be polite, he played them in a few recordings that he'd made on an earlier field trip. Unfortunately, they were from that lost rocket colony on Ceres. Their music was a degenerate ancient form called, I believe, Roland Rock. The Denebs liked it, and they've been doing it ever since.
What's the party?
They're propitiating the tree. I don't know why. It's never failed yet. But they're very conservative. They've got to go into this act every night before I can do my stuff. Lasts all night. Want a drink?
No, thanks.
Oh, I wish I had a fifth of something civilized. I've been drinking this native swamp water for much too long.
He was right. They kept it up all night, and I sat trying to figure out in which hut Munger kept his machinery to make those duplicate bills. Finally, the weak light that passes for dawn on Deneb came up, and the natives quit hollering.
Let's go, Baumholzer. I hate to keep a man in suspense. You're curious about those duplicate bills. Well, now you're going to find out how it's done.
Well, it's good of you to show me. I suppose your theory is that I'll never live to tell about it.
That's very sensible of you. I like a man who can face facts.
We walked across the mud square to the base of a tremendous tree, which I gathered was the guest of honor for last night's shivaree. I still couldn't see the connection, but I was willing to wait. The natives sat around in a deathly hush, and Munger and I stepped forward.
You notice? Nothing up my sleeves. As a matter of fact, no sleeves.
And not much arm, either.
Now, I take this 50-credit note. Care to examine it?
Oh, I've seen it, and 14 others like it.
Yes, I only use a 1,000-credit bill when the natives need new loincloths. These 50s are a lot easier to dispose of.
Oh, I don't know. I traced them to you.
Well, that was a mistake. One of my contacts got a little greedy, spent too many bills in one place. All right. Now, I used to have the natives make a loud noise, but I'll use your gun instead here. You see, I take this bill, fold it, so, and so, and so. And there.
What are you making a paper plane for?
Just watch. I raise the note in one hand, I aim at the tree, and I fire your gun up in the air. Like this.
As he let fly with my gun, Munger sailed the paper airplane straight at the tree, and it sailed right into the foliage.
Now watch.
The bill came sailing back out of the leaves, and right behind it came another one. And then the air was filled with paper planes. Squadrons, wings, armadas of paper airplanes, each one made up of a folded 50-credit note. They sailed out over the whole village, and Munger set the natives to collecting them and bringing them back.
There you are. There'll be several thousands of them. Look.
Genuine. Absolutely genuine. And I suppose they'd go over a beeper plate without a tinkle.
Startling, isn't it?
Protective mimicry.
Yes, precisely. You know, I discovered this tree 6 years ago while I was attempting to evade the clutches of the law on a confidence rap. I swung an axe at it to blaze a trail, and 50 axes came bouncing back at me.
Well, I never heard of any plant developing mimicry to this extent. I know some plants and animals assume dangerous life forms as a camouflage, but this...
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not a botanist. All I know is that you scare the tree with a loud noise. You throw something at it, and it duplicates what it thinks is the danger. Well, speaking of danger, it doesn't look as if your colleague is bringing any help. Oh, I'll miss your company. Interesting. You'll be shot with your own gun.
Now, look, Munger.
Don't wriggle. I hate a moving target. What is that?
Looks like the cops, Munger, at the edge of the village.
Baumholzer, where are you?
We outnumber them. Oleo! I'll get you anyway.
No, no.
You can't run away from me. I'll shoot.
I broke for the other side of the square, and just as he shot at me, I tripped over a pot and went flying smack into the tree. Well, that's about it. Here we sit in the spaceport on Deneb 11, and I'm darned if I'll pay our transportation back until I hear that the office is going to okay my expense account. Munger? Oh, he's in jail at New Alcatraz. Once he missed a shot at me, it was all over. After I fell into the tree, he didn't stand a chance against us. That's right. Us. All 168 of me. Right, Ed?
Right.
You have just heard X-1.
Here is an important special announcement. In appreciation of bringing adult science fiction to the listening audience through the medium of this program, X-1, Galaxy Magazine wishes to make the following free offer to our listeners. For the first 2,500 who write in requesting it, we will send a sample copy of Galaxy Magazine at absolutely no cost. This is an opportunity to read the finest in adult science fiction, just as you listen to it each week here on X-1. To get your free sample copy of Galaxy, just write a postcard or letter to X-1, NBC, Radio City, New York 20, New York, and ask for your free copy. Be sure to print your name and address plainly on your card or letter. This offer can be made only once, so if you want your own free copy of this leading science fiction publication, be sure to write without delay. Here is the address again. Write to X-1, NBC, Radio City, New York 20, New York. Your sample copy of Galaxy will be sent to you without obligation of any kind.
Tonight, by transcription, X-1 has brought you Protective Mimicry, written by Algis Budrys, and adapted for radio by Ernest Kanoy. Featured in tonight's cast were Mandel Kramer, Terry Keane, Charles Penman, Dick Hamilton, and Wendell Holmes. This is Roger Tuttle. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
Remember, for your free sample copy of Galaxy, just send a postcard to X-1, NBC, Radio City, New York 20, New York. Now be sure to print your name and address plainly on your card. This offer can be made only once, so if you want your own free copy of this leading science fiction publication, be sure to write without delay. The address again, X.
Good morning, people. How are you? What's going on? Oh, yeah. Coffee is hot. And I am chillin'. Chillin' Bobillin'. Ooh, that bong hit, man. That was a good one. Pardon me. I'm going to follow that up with a pow mow. Yeah, I don't think so. My guest arrived yesterday evening and brought me a gift. A 45 from Maria. And the song's title is Natalie. My daughter's name. That's so cool. That's so cool. My guest is over at an Airbnb. Getting some rest. I dropped the kids off last night to play video games. So I don't think I'm going to get a studio guest this morning. Hopefully, just passed out. Have some energy for today. That'd be totally cool. And then hopefully get rewired enough by Tuesday so we can go camping and really be on the same schedule, you know. Oh, I feel sorry for him going back to work, though. That's gonna be messed up. Totally. So, hey there, eh? What's going on there, eh? Don't you know, eh? I don't know. What do I know? Oh, I know. I've got what I got, I can show you. Because it is the record of the day. And this record of the day is kind of special in that I heard it a lot when I was a kid. And what's really neat about the main song on this album is that just about every little girl from preteen all the way up into their 20s, they would hear this song and they would just be so emotionally attached to it, especially if they was a horse girl, right? They'd hear Wildfire by Michael Murphy and they would just start bawling, man. I know, because I would start bawling. I love this album. It's a great album. It got the whole album got sidelined because of that radio hit, Wildfire. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Let me see if I can find it here on the old tuber. Let's see if I can find it on the potato here. Yeah, baby. The old YouTube. That's the ticket. Yeah, I'm seriously now. Hear me later. Totally. Yeah, baby. I did not know that. I did not know that. What? What? Nothing. Oh, you didn't know nothing? Wow. Well, there's a thing here about Ron Howard talking about how he really felt about his co-star Henry Winkler. So I have to look at it. That's my algorithm working overtime. Well, I read the book. So you know, they're not saying anything different than I found in the book. They're just reading stuff out of the book. That's all they're doing. There's nothing there. There's no story there. Just leave it alone. I got 202 subscribers. Thank you very much, people. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the videos. I hope you enjoy watching them as much as I enjoy finding them and putting them on my channel, because I really dig it. It's my thing. It's my thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you who to sock it to. It's your thing. Do what you want to do, baby. I can't tell you who to sock it to. What are we looking at? This song here, Blue Sky, Night Thunder, Michael Murphy. Night Thunder, Thunder. Michael Martin Murphy. See if we can find the full album here. It's your thing. Full album. Okay, there it is. This one has something extra. Pardon me, but it has all of the songs from the LP. So we're going to go with it. Thank you, Jerhoma. That's like number 6. I went to the door, opened the door to let my dog in, and I sneezed like 5 times in a row right there at the door. Hello. Whoa. Oh, man. There you go. Alright, let me open up the show this morning here. Turn off these sounds so we don't hear myself twice. That's like you need to hear that nose thing twice, right? Okay. Chat. There's no chat yet. I better put something in here first. There we go. Oh, yeah, man. Paste. Load. Start the chat first. Blue Sky, Night Thunder, and what did we say this year was? We didn't. This year is 1975. 1975. Wow. There we go. I'm not expecting to have an in-studio guest because my house guest is not in the house. Not in the studio. He is sleeping. So there you go. And I don't know. I don't know, baby. Yeah, it's going to be kind of a slow morning. I might plug in my guitar and just say, fuck it, man, because it's Friday. It's Friday, man. Wow. And it feels like it. I'm pretty wiped out. I got up this morning and hit my at 4 and hit snooze. And then at 4:10, I woke up, and I'm usually supposed to hit snooze again and lay there for another 10 minutes waking up, and then get up and start all of this. And nope. This morning I got up at snooze 4:10 and hit stop and went, oh shit, now I have to wake myself up. So I just laid there for 5 minutes, and it's a good thing I had to take a piss, because that woke me up. I couldn't even grab my stuff to get out of the room before I was doing the pee-pee dance. So I pee-pee danced my way to the bathroom, and then got my shit together and got out here. It takes me about 10 minutes to get out here after getting out of bed. I get out here, and it takes me about 10 minutes to turn on my cameras, turn on the computers, load up my programs, and go live. So I'm usually live within 10 minutes of waking up. I'm not on camera. I put on a radio show to start. Mainly because I want to make sure that the live feed is working correctly and I'm not having any technical difficulties and all that crap. Arg. Yes. That house gets pretty bright in the morning when the sun comes up. And since the sun comes up like in about 20 minutes, I might actually get a visitor in the morning. This morning. Or not. I should stop dwelling on it because I'm too tired for it to matter anyway. So today, I'm sorry, I got a sleepy face here. This morning, we are going to be talking about one of my favorite and least favorite subjects about growing up, and that was being homeless at 15. Not homeless, because most of my life I've been homeless before that and after that, but I was with my family. At 15, I ran away from home. I just grabbed what I could and I just walked out the door. I just couldn't fucking take it anymore. It wasn't an abusive home so much as it was a waste of my time, really. I mean, there was just nothing there. My father tried. My mother, she just didn't give a shit. She did not want me around, and I saw that. I saw that in her face, and I was like, you know what? I get it now. I get it now. I saw the look in her face my entire life up to that point when she would talk about the other kids, my brother and sister. You know, you notice this kind of stuff. And the look in her face when she would talk to me. And others may not notice it, but when it's you, you notice it. I was just treated differently. You know, I don't know how exactly to describe it, but my whole childhood, I was treated differently. I mean, there was one time in my life, all right, where I hung out with my mother one-on-one, one time. And I was in my, I want to say late teens, early 20s, right? And my parents had separated. She was living alone in a little brick building that used to be a post office, behind what used to be a post office in Lake Elsinore. A little tiny little square building, and then it had little buildings behind it and stuff. And it was no longer a post office, it was a privately owned house now. At least that's the way I remember it. And I knew that she lived there, and I stopped by probably looking for pot, right? and I hadn't seen her in a while. I just knew that she was living there, and I stopped by, and she was just putting the finishing touches on a tri-tip that she had been cooking on the barbecue, right? And it was just her. So she invited me to stay for dinner, right? And I was kind of like, okay. Weird. It was weird. It just felt weird. So we had dinner, we got high, we hung out, and then we turned on the TV, and there was a movie that just started, Jaws, right? And I had seen it 10 years earlier, and several times before that, but she had never really seen it because it wasn't her kind of movie. So we sat there and we watched Jaws together. And it was weird because she was watching it and she had never seen it before. It was one of the few times that I watched it and was actually caught off guard by some of the suspense and the action and the horror, the head rolling out of the boat under the water, that kind of stuff. And it was great. It was a nice time that we had together. And then I, packed it up and took off. And that was late 90s, mid to late 90s, and that was the only time in my life that I really felt like we were just hanging out, right? And I didn't feel like she was like wishing that I was non-existent. Yeah, it was really weird. We had a weird relationship because she obviously did not want anything to do with me. So therefore, rather than me be an orphan or pushed off onto somebody else, my father went out of his way to accept me, even though I'm quite sure that he knew that I wasn't his kid. But he looked at it as if, it's not my fault as being a kid. So he can't, just brush me aside and get rid of me because I'm not his kid, right? That just has nothing to do with it in his eyes, which was very commendable. But somebody could have told me something, right? I think I was owed the truth at some point in my life before everybody decided to take off and leave. Pass away. I know, you can hear those violins playing. Oh well. It does make me want to grab one of these cigarettes and give myself a heart attack, really. Because that's about what it would probably do. This pot's pretty close to doing that. So, I'll load up some more. Why? You can't live forever. And even if you could, would you want to if you were in pain 24/7? Would you want to live forever if you could not take care of the pain? Right? Or if you were like 1 in a million or 1 in a quadrillion, whatever. If you were like one person that could actually live forever, how would that work? Would you age? Would you stop aging at a specific, when you became immortal? Let's say there was a moment in time when you just became immortal. You're going to live forever. Would you stop aging then? I don't know. I watched Highlander, right? And he obviously had to be a kid at some point, an age. But then he gets to that point where he finds out that he's immortal, and he doesn't age from then on. Maybe it's the moment of knowing, maybe, what's his face? Was it Rodriguez or Gomez or whatever the guy's name, the Sean Connery character, Sanchez, Alberto's Tacos, now I'm hungry. he was a little bit older, but he was also had lived a lot longer with immortality. So do they age just really slow? I don't know. But what if you could be immortal? What about the pain? Do you just get used to it? Right? What about if you're immortal and you get cancer? Is it eventually just going to eat you alive? Because that's what it feels like when you have cancer. It just eats you alive. It eats you from the inside out. Your body essentially starves to death because the food is going, all the food that you eat, all that sugar is going to feed the cancer. Your cancer just takes over and rewrites your body and says, you know what, you're working for me now, bitch. And that's the way it is. And if there is a cure for cancer out there, and you need a guinea pig, I'm your man. I'll do whatever you got going. I'll give it a shot. As long as it's like nothing too extreme. You want to give me an injection and see if it kills the cancer without killing me? I'll give it a whirl. You know, what do I got to lose? Of course, it'll never happen because the only ones to really lose with a cure of cancer are the pharmaceutical companies who are passing along these medieval fucking treatments. So they're the ones who are going to suffer with a cure for cancer. That's why they take all of the possible cures for cancer that are all over the planet, and they just run around gobbling them up. If you won't give it to us and sell out, we'll kill you, and you'll just wind up dead. You know, and that's the way that works. You know, the big giant conglomerate corporations who control everything have decided long ago that treatments make more money, and curing the diseases that plague this planet only steal money out of their pockets. That's it. So we'll never get the cures for the really big ones. The little ones will get cures for. They'll fix a few things and say, gosh, look at how, and we're still working hard to cure cancer. They're going to work on the cure for cancer for a couple of 100 years until somebody finally comes clean and says, look, these bastards have had the fucking cure for decades, and they just sit on it. They let their family members die because they don't want the overall company to go broke or lose any amount of fucking money. True that. That is truth, and you hold on to that because, you know, that is the biggest fucking truth on this planet right now. They don't care about us. If all the elites on this planet could get together and leave us lowlifes down here, I'm talking about the top 2%, right? They all leave, and they leave us here to toil in this pollution and just horrible fucking conditions. They're just gonna take off. Why do you think they want to colonize Mars? You know, why do you think they want to deal with space travel? Because space travel is an easy out. Colonizing someplace else is an easy out rather than trying to fix the planet. You know how you fix the planet? No more babies. You don't have any babies until you get shit fixed. And having no more babies for a while is what is going to fix things, because the population is going to go down real quick. So many people die every day, but more people are born every day. So if we stop having babies for like 5 years, that's not a big deal. That's only 5 years, right? We stop having babies for 5 years. During that time, all right, the people who want to have babies, they learn to have babies, and they learn to raise those children better. We rewrite the whole program. You know, And during that 5 years, we also heal this fucking planet. We don't think about anything but taking care of the planet. Look, in China, they're going through the desert right now, and they're turning their desert into prairie land and pastures and grass and trees, you know? And what do we do out here? We deforest. What do we do down in South America? We deforest. All over the planet. All we do is just fuck it up. And we breed like frickin' rabbits. 5 years. I give it 5 years. No kids. You take all fossil fuel burning stuff offline. We could do that. We could do that. If the government can give everybody a cell phone, the government can give everybody solar power. Right? Bada bing. Everybody now has their own power at home. Right? I wouldn't say so much about the electric cars unless they can come up with a way to create electric cars without overmining. I mean, because we could be looking at like we're going to save the planet by having electric cars, but at the same time we're completely destroying the planet by creating these electric cars. It's a fucking oxymoron, you know. It's literally 1 step forward and 20 steps backwards. That's wrong, you know. But hey, they're cool, and all the people say, hey, it's cool, let's do it. So that's what they're doing. They're going ahead with the electric car thing, and they're going to keep making those fucking things, and keep those poor people out in the middle of nowhere, and wearing, you know, rags, just so they can dig this fucking shit out of the ground, and sell it for pennies to us, so that we can make batteries, you know. Sheesh. All of the toxic stuff they got to dig out of the ground. And then you see those shots of that we don't see on the news, but you see them in YouTube videos, right? Those shots of all of that overmining, and they dig down in an area and overmine, and then undermine a hillside that's not probably, you know, and then they'll do that here, and they've got a makeshift dam built with water behind it, and then all of a sudden this gets saturated, and it just washes down into where all the people and the tractors are working, and it just wipes everybody out, you know. And I see these things, and I'm like, oh my God. And you know what? The very next day they were out there digging through it, trying to find, you know, precious metals and minerals and crap and things to make batteries right out of the stuff that collapsed over their own people. They just bring in new people. You know, fuck it. Can we get to them? Nah, well, just, you know, pave over it, and we'll start working over there. We'll just move into a different spot and work. Well, life is just not precious. Human life is just not precious on this planet anymore. Why? Because there's too many people. And there's too many elites to not give a shit about all of these people. And there's too many people, you know, sorry to say it, that are just ignorant and have no idea what to do. We've got smart people in this country that have no idea what the fuck to do with the government, the power in charge, you know. And now you go to another country where their people are kept poverty-stricken and ignorant, just so that those in charge don't have any cares. They don't have any worries. They're the smart ones. They're the strong ones. They're the powerful ones. Their people, if they got 100 of their people together, they couldn't take on one of the elites. 1,000, 1,000,000. It's not possible, you know. Yeah, I just see bad things to come on this planet until humanity gets together as a whole and starts giving a shit, you know. We need to give a shit. And nobody gives a shit anymore. Everybody's just too distracted. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to care. It's too much hassle. It's too much trouble to care, you know? If you care, then you got to do something. If you do something, you got to think about stuff, and stuff's going to make you feel bad. You don't want to feel bad, so you don't think about stuff, and it's like, oh, I'm going to rather do this than do that, because that's going to make me feel, this is going to make me feel good, but that's going to make me feel bad. So they just don't. Or they're just so into themselves that they don't have time to deal with the rest of the world's problems. It's not their problem. It's not my problem. It's your problem. You created the problem. It's not my problem. I didn't do that. I didn't get involved in that. I didn't touch that. So they just remain uninvolved. Everybody should be involved in everything that's done, every decision that's made about us as a city, as a county, as a state, as a United States, as a world. Everything should be decided by we the people. We have phones that connect everybody, you know, and yet nobody's connected. Everybody's so detached from each other. Narcissists to a fault, right? All anyone wants to think about is themselves. And it hurts to see that happening, especially when it's happening like right in front of you, and you see somebody who's just so wrapped up in their own shit that they just walk all over somebody, you know. They act like they're always on video, right? Like somebody's like narcissistic people nowadays. They just act like somebody is always watching them, and they have to keep this persona. They have to keep that social media standard of living their life, so that no matter what, if they're ever caught on camera, they're still that same asshole, I guess. And that's really, really bad, because now, before it was kind of a fantasy thing with social media, where we could pretend that our lives were really glamorous, and we could do this and that and this, and kind of only show what we wanted to show, and only say what we wanted to say about. And now people, they don't live a lie anymore. They are that narcissistic person. They're not just that person on camera. They're that person all the time, right? Yeah. Wow. There are some people out there where they're never off their phone. Never. They get up and they're on their phone, they're texting somebody, they're watching their videos, they're checking their posts, they're sharing stuff, they're on the video talking to people, and that's their whole day. They give their whole day over to that. So therefore, they're always on. They're always on, which means that they're always trying to evoke an image. They're always trying to create, you know, a little fantasy world for the rest of the world to see. They're living in shit, they're living in squalor, they're, you know, however fucked up their life is, right? But they're only going to let you see how perfect their life is, right? It's like those couples who do that video stuff on YouTube, and you see how perfect their lives are until she winds up missing and he goes to prison for murdering her, right? Because it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit because we want to be seen like this. We want the world to see what we want them to see. And but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get seen, right? Just like these camera angles here. You see a lot of stuff, but you don't see the other side of the room. Well, you could see it last season, but where's the rest of the house? Where's the rest of the people? What's the rest of the stuff, you know? And So you only get to see what I show you. It's the same thing with the rest of the world, man. All the way up to the top, right? The P. Diddy's and the Elon Musks and the Donald Trumps and the Bidens and the Tom Hankses and all of these people. We don't know them at all. We only know what they allow us to know. The paparazzi, they try to get that unknown, and they don't. They still only get what they're allowed to see, for the most part. So we don't know. Just like you don't know if your neighbor is a serial killer. You don't know if he's got people tied up in the basement. You just don't know. Might be the nicest guy in the world, the nicest couple in the world, right? But, but they kill people. Who knows? We don't know. We don't ever know. And that's fucking scary. So you see social media and you see all of this pretend. Where does it end? Where does it begin? Where are the truths and where are the lies? You never know. You never know until it's investigated because somebody pops somebody off, I couldn't take it anymore. She just blah, blah, blah about her whole life. All he would do was sit on the videos every day and talk shit. And then he'd bring me into it. I mean, yeah. Social media, it should have been the best thing to happen to this planet. And it's the worst. It's used against us every single day. Now, with the ads, you can't look through any social media platform without being bombarded with ads, videos, Facebook, TikTok. It doesn't matter. It's all, there you go. There you go. I gotta warm it up. There you go. Well, oi, that's about arr. Oi, arr, blaggada, 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 boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I am whooped. I am whooped. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do today. I think my wife said she's going out to a friend's house to do something. The kids are going to probably sleep till 1 or 2 or something. I might just get done here and take a couple of hours rest so that I have energy for later. I don't know that I'm going to be involved in everything that happens this week, mainly because, well, I'm old and feeble, tormented by pain. So if I get out, I get out. If not, it'll probably be because the youngins are doing something that youngins do, I guess. My stomach. He growls for about the first hour of coffee, and then it subsides. I really should put food in my stomach with coffee, but I am so horrible at eating and nourishment that, well, it's killing me, basically. I'm just trying to save myself for camping. Every day I wake up, it's a It's a miracle. Take it easy, stomach. Take it easy. Watching my levels over there to see if my stomach registers on the microphone. I don't know. Yeah. So, being homeless, or rather a runaway, at 15 was pretty heavy. I mean, I had never really felt secure at home because we were always picking up and moving, picking up and moving, picking up and moving, because we never really had a home. It was always somebody else's home, or a van, or a tent, or a motorhome, or a trailer, or something. And usually they belonged to someone else. The only thing we owned was a van and a tent. Through all of those times that we were like, the motorhomes belonged to somebody, the trailers belonged to somebody else. Good morning, Joey. Just about everything that we lived in through my childhood belonged to somebody else. Just woke up, huh? I figured you'd be asleep till like at least noon or 2 or something. How late did you guys stay up? I suppose she's probably still asleep, because that girl can sleep. Arg. Well, yeah, homeless at 15 was pretty scary, and it was pretty bizarre, right? Like I said, my home life had never really felt secure. So I didn't feel like I was leaving. Oh wow, that's good. 10 or 11. That's a good time to go to sleep. Still get some sleep. But yeah, you're like me, so it's like after a few hours, you're like, I'm done sleeping. Totally. That was weird to be living in other people's homes when I was young. Because I was a runaway, so I was staying with other people and other people's families in their homes. And being an insomniac, that was hard to get used to. Because everybody in the house would go to sleep early and I'd be wide awake all night long. You know, and they would be like, what's wrong with him? Is he on drugs? You know, and I would just have to let them know, hey, I have insomnia and it won't allow me to just shut off. I could lay in bed, but I'll lay there for 3 or 4 hours before I will get sleepy. So, you fell asleep again, huh? Well, if you leave and come over, be sure to lock the door on your way out. Totally. Because she stayed there by herself before, so that's okay. Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, I am wiped out. It's been a hell of a life, you know. Being an insomniac, I'm awake like twice as long as a normal person. A normal person sleeps 8 to 10 hours a day, right? And I sleep my whole life. Most of the time I slept about anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, usually about 5 hours. And usually not straight through. It's not like I go to sleep and then I wake up at 5 hours, I'll go to sleep, and then I wake up off and on all during that sleep period, and I'm never really out. Every once in a while, I'll be out long enough to dream for a few minutes, but not much. Not much. Totally, man. So, yeah. I should just drink coffee and smoke dope here until I'm red in the eyes. But the coffee don't wake me up anymore. It just keeps me coherent enough during this program. If I don't do the show, like on a Saturday or Sunday, I may or may not have coffee, and if I do, I'm not going to finish it. I'm just going to have a little couple of sips and then get right into some food. Because I don't want to eat on the show here. I just wait until after. Totally, man. So let's see. Yeah, I am out there. I got into bed pretty early last night. It was about 10 o'clock last night. Well, you guys must not have been up much longer after I texted Natalie. I think that was about 10ish. Yeah, I just had some cake and milk and crawled into bed and sat up and watched a little bit of was it Airport 75 or something, one of my sleeping pill movies. And it worked. Put me to sleep. The dogs kept waking me up, though, because they kept expecting Natalie to come home. So every time they heard a noise, they would want to get up and go to the door and sit there and wag their tail and wait for her to come in. And they were upset. They kept coming back to bed all upset. So, yeah. Maybe I'll get done with the show here and throw all the dogs in the car and bring them over and chuck them in bed with Natalie. Arr. 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 Man, you getting hungry yet? I don't know if there's any early breakfast places in town. There's a Denny's in 29, about 15, 20 minutes that way. I think there's it used to be an IHOP in Yucca, Mosca. And now it's a Black Bear Cafe or something like that. Honestly, if she's not up now, I don't think she's going to be up for a while. Unless you guys want to sleep real early, then perhaps. Yeah, getting back to being homeless at 15, if it wasn't for the friends that I made in Lake Elsinore, California, I would have been a homeless runaway. And that probably would have led to a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I got into an argument with my mother one afternoon. I got home from school, and she came screaming out that when somebody left, they didn't close the door all the way, and a dog got out, and she had to run around screaming for this dog in the middle of the morning in her nightgown, and it pissed her off, right? Rightly so. But you would think that over the afternoon, she would get over it and think about how to deal with it, and no, she through the whole day, all she did was piss herself off more and more and more and more and more. Like, is she still awake? And so that by the time I got home from school, she was just red with rage. So when I walked in, she just started screaming at me, right? And I didn't know what the fuck she was talking about for 5 fucking minutes. And I finally got the gist of the situation. And it's like she just kept screaming and screaming and screaming. I didn't have a chance to say anything to defend myself or back me. You know, it was like finally I just fucking threw my hands up into the air, and they smashed into the ceiling of the school bus that we were living in. And she thought I was getting ready to punch her, right? So she hauled off like this and was getting ready to punch me when she realized that I was just throwing my hands in the air to turn around and walk out. And I saw her haul back to punch me in the face. And I just shook my head and walked away. You know, like, how dare she? You know, she's already proven that she doesn't want me. And now, you know, at the age of like 15, she's going to punch me in the face because she don't like me that much. It's like, how dare you, lady? How fucking dare you? Any idea when she got to sleep, or is she still awake? If she's still awake, you guys would come on over. Yeah, my mother and I did not get along at all from that moment on. And I just walked out of the house. Well, our motorhome bus thing. I just walked out. I grabbed whatever was right there. A jacket or something. She's sleeping, of course. Well, if you come over, lock the place up. Otherwise, you're going to be bored as hell if you just sit over there. So, anywho. Because if she stayed up late and she's sleeping now, she's going to sleep pretty late, knowing that Mom's not going to be there till 2. She'll probably sleep late. That's cool. That's cool, man. Yeah. So I walked up the street to a new friend's house who lived up several blocks away. And he was a new friend. They didn't go to school where I went to school. I had met this girl, and she had been dating this guy and this other guy, and she stopped dating both these guys and started dating me. And I didn't know about this until I met one of the guys, and he didn't like me. Her sister was dating his friend. So when I showed up, his friend and her sister wanted to hang out with me, and it was just, it got weird, right? It got really, really weird. So this new friend of mine, my girlfriend's sister's boyfriend, just lived up the street. So I went up there and I crashed out a couple of nights on his couch in the garage. There was a living room made up in the garage because they had a bunch of kids there, and his stepbrothers and sisters. So I just kind of hung out there for a night or two, you know, because I needed just some place to just be, you know, I just needed a place. Otherwise, I would have gone back to my 4th grade, or excuse me, my 7th grade ditching stuff, where I just wandered off into the woods and would just find a place to sleep, you know. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go back to being just a full-blown, you know, runaway transient guy. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to finish school. I wanted to do things with my life. And so I had to rely on friends. And I stayed some time with my girlfriend at her house in her brother's room with her brother, Pat. I started staying with my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. We actually became pretty good friends. And I stayed in his room, in his spare bed, for quite a while. I also stayed with one of his good friends, who became one of my best friends. I also stayed with one of my best friends from junior high, and the new kid that came into town, who we kind of took under our wing. His mom took me under her wing. And there were like a half dozen families who took me in and would just let me stay there without question, without rent, without hassle, without what are you doing with your life kind of bullshit. And without that, I would have failed. I would have failed everything in my life. I would have failed at being a human. I would have got to letting everything take me over, drugs, homelessness. I could have wound up on the street selling my ass. I mean, who knows? I could have been in prison. So many things could have happened were it not for those people and their families. Even guys younger than me that were kind of on their own took me in, because it wasn't just from 15 to 18. It was 15 up into my 20s, because you rely on your family on up into your 20s and 30s and for the rest of your life and stuff. And I didn't have that. I didn't have those adults to go to when I was a new adult, except for my friends and their families. So thank you. Without you people, I would have failed. I would not be here. I would have been dead by 35 or in prison or a completely different person. And I'm glad for that. Because if I hadn't become the me that I am or was 25 years ago, I never would have met my wife, and I never would be where I am now. So, yeah, that's pretty heavy. I mean, not to mention the 90s, the decade of the 90s, what would have happened to me then. That could have been the most horrible 10 years of my life. And it was rough, but it could have been so much worse. It could have been so much worse had I not people to rely on. And it certainly wasn't my family. On occasion it was my father, which is weird because, like I said, I don't really think he was my blood father. But for most part, it was other people that I relied on. I seldom relied on my family because I knew I couldn't. It just wasn't in their nature. And if it was, and if they did help, I was indebted to them for having helped them, and they would bring it up. Remember, I helped you. You're like, okay. Or getting denied help. When everybody else gets help and you get denied help, you see a pattern, right? Help, 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 you no help. Help, 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 you no help. It's like, okay. Or when you're gone out of the picture for so long, and people that you've lived with for 10 years of your life just don't care, right? It's like if they cared, you would see them show, hey, where's he at? What's going on? We haven't seen him in a while. Is he okay? I never heard any of that. I never heard that my parents were looking for me, unless, of course, they got, you hear that fly? That damn fly buzzing around. I just got a message from Susie. I want to thank my Grateful Dead family who adopted me at 13 because they have influenced everything in my life up till now. So thank you, Deadheads. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. While I was not taken in by Deadheads, per se, I was taken in by families who did introduce me to the Grateful Dead. It was one of those families whose daughter I went to school with, and while I didn't stay with them on a regular basis, on occasion I would sleep on their couch or something. And then when a bunch of the families lived in one house together, of course I lived in the same house they did. Thank you, Susie. Thank you so much. There was this family who all the adults were like, we're going to go see the Grateful Dead in Irvine. It was like 1987. And we're like, yeah, all right, where, when, and they're like, no, this isn't for kids, right? This is for adults. This is adult music. And I still remember the two guys trying to explain why us kids weren't allowed to go to this music. So what did we do? A handful of us piled into a car, drove all the way out to Irvine, got tickets in the parking lot, right? And got in there and showed up and went, meh. And that was my first Grateful Dead show, to go to the people who had introduced me to it, but felt that it was above us. As children, we shouldn't. And I was like, wow, how elitist, right? And we didn't go for it. We didn't go for it at all. Their daughter said, let's go. And we said, fuck yeah, let's go. Went out there with a few bucks and got tickets and got in, unprepared. And we were unprepared for what, of course, the girl, Tracy, she was, yeah, no shit. Tracy, she knew what was going on because she had done this before. She got into the Irvine Meadows, ran up a grassy hill, and rolled down this hill in her dress. And did it for 15 minutes until she got up and then just spun her way all the way into the place and didn't stop moving the whole time. It was just bizarre for me. I had seen Judas Priest at the Irvine Meadows before that. And I was like, wow, Grateful Dead. This is heavy. This is heavy. I got loaded and passed out on the blanket during drums. Woke up at the end of space. Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was fucking awesome, man. I gotta do a bong hit. I gotta do a bong hit, baby. Where's my lighter? Who's the mic? Oh, here it is. Totally. Yeah. That's great. I love to hear that story, Susie. That makes me feel really good. At 13, that must have been really heavy to be a runaway, homeless. And I don't know if you're a runaway or homeless or what have you, what your circumstance was, but it's tough. It's a tough period in your life already, right? And then to not have a family to rely on, that's even tougher. Boy, that mosca, that fly keeps bird dogging me. Watch you land on the mic. If he lands on the mic, let me know what it sounds like. I don't have my ear things on. Yeah, no kidding, huh? Oh man. They were such a big, heavy influence, just that one show, that one of my friends who was there with us, he's like, man, they're going to they're going to Santa Barbara next. You want to drive up there and go see them in a couple of days? And I'm like, okay. And we went all the way out there on his motorcycle a few days later and couldn't get tickets. We did get a bag of mushrooms, however. They were wet. They were wet mushrooms. They were fresh. So we sat in the back of somebody that we met. We sat in the back of their truck and got high and smoked these wet mushrooms. I don't know why. And we listened to the music coming off of the wind from the ocean. And we did that until, and it was during the day. So we did that for a couple of hours. And then it was like, all right, well, if we're not going to get in, let's head back so that we're not on the motorcycle, late at night. So we hung out there for a while, got loaded, hung out, met some people, met some girls, met a whole bunch of people, got some phone numbers and stuff, and then we took off. And then it wasn't until the mid-90s that I saw them again. 95, their last tour. I saw them spring, and then my friend went on their summer tour, and that was it. End of story. But if it weren't for the Grateful Dead, once again, I wouldn't have found that independence, you know. And at that point, I was probably, what, 17. I'm sorry, 19. Much love to you too, baby. Totally cool. Yeah, I mean, and as kind of a group of kids, you know, we've kind of found an independence, you know. Because in a small town, you kind of grow up quick, but you grow up a lot slower than city kids, right? You learn a lot, but you learn a lot about yourselves, you know. And it's just a big difference between being a city kid and learning stuff really fast, and being a country kid, kind of taking it easy and not having to worry about learning shit real fast, growing up too quick. You know, everybody wants to drive at 15, but, you know, we're in our 20s before we want to start paying rent somewhere. City kids are like, you know, I'm ready to move out at 17, you know, a lot of times. Just fast-paced shit. Fast-paced. Wow. Wow. I guess I should heat up my coffee because it's nicer that way. God, I love hearing that story, Susie. That is awesome. Where was this at 13? Yeah, I was born and raised in Southern California, so all of my stories are pretty much Southern California related, and mostly in Lake Elsinore, California. I'm just a little curious as to where your stuff was. Was it in around the Chicago area, or what have you? You don't have to tell me. And if you're gone, then that's okay too. I know I think it's Susie that shows up in the mornings and then has to take off or get to work or do something like that. So, whereas Joey's usually just showing up in the morning because it's the end of his day. Yeah. But I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do this morning here. Whether it's going to be get back into bed and try to catch up on my sleep, or whether I'm going to start doing something. I might do a little bit of both. I might work in the van. I might take off and try to find some Velcro and some items to kind of create a way to put this TV in the van. And I think if I use Velcro, I should be able to put this TV and just stick it up in the area so that I can peel it off the wall and get to the cubby hole behind it. I think that'd be neat. So I'm just going to try to figure out exactly how to put the TV on there with the Velcro. I'm going to need quite a lot of Velcro. And I'm going to need it in 4 areas. Down below, large areas. Up top, a couple of shorter, small areas, little spots. And then I have to, you know, test it to make sure it's going to stay there. But, ooh boy, camping is just around the corner. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. Yep, baby. Yeah, baby. Baby, 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 baby. Baby, baby, baby. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. That's what a toad says. You know what a horny toad says? Rub it, rub it. Dordity. Dordity mine, dordity mine. All right, so I guess that she did go to work. This is my work. I don't get paid for it. That's why I enjoy it. Work that I get paid for, I don't enjoy. Work that I don't get paid for, I love. It's fun. It's exciting. I don't have to worry about that whole financial aspect of work. When you're working for free, doing something that you love, it's a whole different feeling, you know. If I had won like the lottery or something 10 years ago, I probably would have spent the last 10 years working, doing stuff, just because it makes me feel good, right? I would probably, 10 years ago, if I'd have won the lottery, I would probably have built 100 tiny homes by now. I would have built a city, a little tiny home community. I would have built a little village somewhere in Colorado, 100 acres, you know, little main houses and little tiny home villages and parks and stuff, and, you know, what the hell. And then probably populate it with, you know, elderly people who don't have anybody to take care of, and pair them up with young people who don't have anybody to take care of, and give them animals that nobody wants, and let them all kind of take care of each other, right? And make little communities, little neighborhoods, and little pieces of property with, you know, like-minded people kind of sharing the area and helping each other out, gardening and building and, you know, animal husbandry and whatever, you know, and just hang out and just people living their lives, you know, and not having to worry about, oh my God, am I going to make my rent, you know? There's so much of that, you know, and create a momentum. It's like, okay, well, we're going to start with this 100 acres, and then we're going to branch out and get another 1,000 acres around it. But those 1,000 acres has to be populated with tiny homes and people by the people who live here. So now they take over. All right, now you're living here. Now it's time for you to pay it forward and help the next generation of people to live in the next neighborhood. And then they help the next generation of people to create another neighborhood, and let it grow that way. So they're not being handed stuff so much as they're being given the opportunity to help themselves and to help others, right? Be a library in every community, a school, you know, a multi-denominational church, more a house of learning and education, and religion than just religion. You should be able to explore all aspects of spirituality in a academic forum, rather than just here, read this and sing this, and, you know, it should be more than that. You should be exploring outer as well as inner. I mean, there should be a whole, you know, new religion. Religion should be revamped completely. So it's more about bettering oneself and the community of humans than it is about, you know, what's going on now, and I don't want to put anybody down, so I want to say anything specific. But it seems to be more about, what can you do for me, rather than let's show you what we can do, right? And I think that's where we're missing. I think religion should be, yes, I believe in this, but like I see on Little House on the Prairie, prayer is going to get you everything, whereas no, you need to work your ass off to get it. You need to get other people to work their asses off, and you need to work for a commonality, a goal, a purpose, right? And better yourself by helping others. I think that's what we can do to show whatever omnipotent being is there that we deserve this, right? And we don't. Very seldom around the world do you see people who express that, who exude that we deserve this, because mostly we don't. We don't deserve what we have because we destroy it. We're not grateful. We are, we're users. We're takers. We're wanters. We're needers. We're havers, but rarely are we helpers, doers, give backers, right? No. And you see this person with all this religious stuff about love and peace and understanding on the back of their car, and you pass them, and they flip you off because you're passing them, right? And it's like, whoa, where did that come from? Or, they look and act like they are a religious person of God, right? A Christian. And their actions totally say otherwise, and I'm like, how do you live this fucking dichotomy, this Hippocratic life, where you say you're here to do this and to help, and I'm a Christian soldier and all this stuff, but then you shit on this person because they're not your color, because they're not in your social arena, they don't have your kind of money, or they look different, they just look different, or they're homeless, or they just don't deserve your charity, because you decide who deserves your charity. It's your charity, so you decide. And if every single person isn't worthy of your charity, then you're not worthy of us, right? As a whole humanity, right? It starts from birth. It starts when you first walk into school, in public school, and they start rewriting whatever your parents have done. And you go home, and every day your parents have to constantly keep up with rewriting, or you just allow it to happen. And most parents just allow it to happen because they would much rather put a screen in the kid's face and say, go away, I'm busy, and then they get on their own screen. So, or go about their business, just happy that the kid is out of the way and busy, and that's where you see mistake children, right? It's like, oh, that was a mistake, yeah, we didn't mean to have that one, yeah. And they tell that story with the kid around, right? Yeah, these two we planned for, that one was unplanned for. And the kid's like, thanks, appreciate it. Grows up with that in his head. There's something wrong with the world if there is such a term as unplanned pregnancy. There's something wrong that we have that term. Freaking Moscow. Get away from me. Yeah, it's just a horrible thought. We didn't plan this one. Yeah, we had 5, and 3 of them were unplanned. One of my wife's relatives just had a 3rd, and they're like, "Yep, that's it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. Were they all planned? Was this one planned?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, they were all planned." She don't know, right? But it's like, this is it. And I'm like, well, if this is it, get them tied, have them snipped, do whatever you got to do to make sure this is it, because there's always those frickin' oopses, and then you end at 3, but you wind up with 6. I mean, it's like, come on. People just think with their crotch. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. Most people on the planet think with their crotch. And you can't do that. Look what the world has become, because most of the world thinks with its crotch. We got countries where they're starving in the streets, starving in fields, and each family's got 10 fat little babies with distended bellies who are starving to death because they have no idea about conception. They have no idea about population. They have no idea to just stuff a fucking cork in it, right? How about if you just don't? But it's the only thing to do. We got no food. We got nothing else to do, so we'll just fuck all day and pump out babies. Don't worry, only half of them are going to make it anyway. Well, that's still 10 babies that live. Come on. And then what? Look at the numbers, right? It's Friday, right? So we can do This Week in History. But before we do that, let's look at world population numbers. Because that's just a bizarre thing if you think about it. World population by year. Okay, so these are some milestones. All right. Uh, 1 billion people on the planet in 1804. I guess that's a rough estimate, right? 1804. Only 123 years later, we're at 2 billion, right? 3 billion only 30 years after that. We're at 4 billion 15 years after that, 1974. We're at 5 billion in 1987, 6 billion in 1999, 7 billion in 2011, and 8 billion people on the planet in 2022. The current population of the world in 2025 is projected to be 8,191,988,453 persons. Right? Wow. Wowzers. That's too many people. That's too many people. All right? In the year 200, there was 190 million people on the planet. In the year 200. Get out of here. 200, in the year 600, there was 200 million people on the planet. That's what it says. 200, according to world population by year on the Worldometer. It stayed around 2 billion people. It stayed under 3 billion people until 1960. After 1960, it just shot up. It just keeps going up more and more and more. Every year, it takes less time to get another billion people on this planet. Wow. Okay, so we've got way too many people on this planet, period. Oh, you know what? It doesn't take much to change that. Like I said, if we stop having babies for 5 years, that's not a big deal. You know, hey, Pope, tell everybody to stop having babies for 5 years. All right? Tell everybody that we need to work on the world's problems and make sure that we have a world worthy of new babies. How's that? Let's do that. And then, just imagine what we could do between now and then. Okay, here's the goal. Here's the goal time. Here's what we have to do before we get to there. We need to create a whole new world filled with parents, new parents, right, that are trained in raising children, right? Literally got a certificate in raising children. They graduated from the school of raising children. And each country has their own methodology according to their own religion and race and geography, right? But we need to raise better children. We need to raise better people. We need to have more better adults running the planet. And we can't get there from here. Because where we're at now is just creating more idiots. A planet filled with idiots. It's a bummer. Sorry to say that, but it's the truth. A whole family of idiots. Idiots. And don't be mistaken, we are a family. This planet, us peoples, we're all related. We're all related. In some fashion, we're all related. We are all beholden to each other and this planet. And if we just would learn that key, right, from day one. Why are we here, Mommy? We're here to take care of each other, dear. What's that mean? That means to love each other, to take care of each other, to look out for the person next to you, to take care of the neighbors, to take care of the people down the street, to take care of the people in the next country, the next county. And if we all thought like that and worked toward that ultimate goal to just take care of each other, we'd worry more about ourselves, we'd worry more about the planet, we'd worry more about, ultimately, life. Because we don't. I mean, if we can pick up arms against the person on the other side of that wall just because they don't like where I'm at, there's a problem, right? That shouldn't be happening. For whatever reason, that should not be happening. It doesn't matter, you know. You should not be throwing bombs, and you should not be responding with bombs, and that should not be happening. If there is a world police, they need to go around the world gassing people and knocking them out and putting them 2 by 2 into rooms and letting them fucking work it out. You know? Period. Until they each come out of the fucking room, at least shaking hands, saying, all right, look, you live your way, I'll live my way. We don't have to agree. We don't have to get along, you know. But we need to live respectively and peaceably and courteously with each other. And we can't do that, you know, because everybody's always in it for themselves and their own religion and their own way of life and their own whatever, their own bottom line. And it's just, it ain't working. Can we not figure that out, that it's not working, and change? You know? Can we change a little bit? a little bit. I don't know. Let's go to this week in history and see how much things have changed and how much they haven't. Because they probably haven't changed much. Not really. I go to Encyclopedia Britannica for my information to see what's happened this day and this week in history. In 1961, on this day in history, Rafael Trujillo, army officer who had become a dictator in the Dominican Republic following a military revolt in 1930, well, he was assassinated. In 1942, on this day, during World War II, the British Royal Air Force dispatched more than 1,000 bombers against Cologne, Germany. Whoa. Okay, in England, in Shanghai, the May 13th incident, some 12 labor demonstrators were killed by British police in Shanghai, sparking nationwide strikes and protests in China. That's when British rule was in China, right? And that's crazy to think that even in this last century, England still had their paws in somebody else's pie, right? I mean, I thought that went out with India and the wars, the Indian War back in the turn of the century, but no, before the turn of the century. It's just weird to think that other countries still want to have control over other places, you know. It's just sad. In 1922, on this day in history, the Lincoln Memorial was dedicated. And there you go. Let's see what happened yesterday in history on the 29th. What happened yesterday in history on the 29th of May. Bing Crosby recorded a holiday classic, White Christmas, in 1942. In 1945, Russian Navy was defeated in the Battle of Tsushima in the Russo-Japanese War. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Right? That's crazy, man. So what happened this day in history on Wednesday, the 28th of May in history? What happened? 1937, Neville Chamberlain became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. 1937, the German automaker Volkswagen was founded to mass-produce a low-priced people's car. The company was originally operated by a Nazi organization. And yet it was remained to still exist after World War II. That's crazy. In 1934, the Dion quintuplets, the first set of documented quintuplets, that's 5 sets of twins, to survive, were born in Chandler, Ontario, Canada. That's crazy. It's crazy, man. Crazy man. All right, and then the 27th of May in history, as according to the Britannica Encyclopedia. 1977, the British punk band the Sex Pistols released their second single, God Save the Queen, and was quickly banned by the BBC and other outlets in England. Wow, what a bummer. God Save the Queen, and then I'm looking at the CD from Vienna, and it's got, I don't think that song is on here, but there's this song, God Save the Queens. Is that not on here? Beauty Queen, Vienna, Vienna, whatever. Yeah, I guess it's not on here. But it's a great song. And I dare say it would not exist if it were not for the Sex Pistols. 1933, Walt Disney released the animated short film The Three Little Pigs, which featured the song Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf, highlighting fortitude in the face of adversity. It was a Depression-era movie song thing that was like, yay, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Yeah, baby. Alright, what do we got here? So, May 26th, this week, in history, on this day, May 26th in history, Guyana gains its independence from a Dutch colony that became a British colony. During World War II in 1940, British began to evacuate their troops from Dunkirk, France. Oh, Dunkirk. The Battle of Dunkirk. In 1938, the House Un-American Activities Committee was created with Martin Dies Jr. as its chairman. It investigated alleged communist activities, and perhaps its most celebrated case was that of Alger Hiss, 1938. Gosh, they were doing that communist bullshit back as far as 1938. I thought it didn't happen until the 50s, honestly. In 1927, the Ford Motor Company ended production of its famed Model T in this day, May 26th. 1927, wow. Jazz musician Miles Davis was born in 1926. And in 1907, John Wayne was born. And I believe his name was Marion. Totally. And let's go back one more day to the 25th of May in history. 1977, George Lucas's space opera film Star Wars was released, launching one of the most successful and influential franchises in motion picture history. And in 1969, Midnight Cowboy was released on the 25th of May. John Voight, Dustin Hoffman. And on the 25th of May in 1961, in a speech before Congress, John F. Kennedy committed the United States to land on the moon by the end of the decade. And they did, supposedly. Supposedly, eh? Because, you know, they never really proved it yet, eh? Maybe they landed something there, but did we really go there? And if we did, why did we really go there? And if so, then why did we stop going? What's the deal? What's the conspiracy there? Right? Right? I don't know. Wow. Abdullah the First, ruler of Transjordan, proclaimed himself king. He's a king. I'm a king. You know what? I'm going to be a king. I bet that could happen in this country. He could just say, I'm a king. That's it. I'm a king. You can't vote me out. I'm king. I just wrote a new law. You can't vote me out. I'm king. And so many ass-kissers would go along with it. There you go. He said it. You have to do it. You gotta do it. That's not how it works here in this country. A lot of people would like it to be that way, but no. Okay, 1935, May 25th. American baseball player Babe Ruth hit the 714th last home run of his career. He retired later that year. Also that year, American track and field standout Jesse Owens set the world records and qualified one other at the meet at Ann Arbor, Michigan. Getting ready to go to the Olympics. And here we go. May 25th, 1895, the trial of acclaimed Irish writer Oscar Wilde ended with him being found guilty of committing acts of gross indecency with certain male persons. He was sentenced to 2 years of hard labor for being himself. There you go. Just for being gay. Just for being himself. It's like, oh, you can't be you. Oh, hell no. If you can't be like the rest of us, pfft. I got so much of that when I was growing up. Not because I was gay, but because I was different. Just being different. All you got to do is be different. That's it. Look different, act different, talk different, walk different, be in a wheelchair. It doesn't matter. If you're different, oh man, people just don't want you. People just don't want you. So that's it. That's this week in history. There you go. There you have it. There it is. Right now we're going to do what the TV guide says about today, Friday. This TV guide here is this week's TV guide. Donahue on the cover. Good old Phil Donahue. I still got my typewriter here. That's correct. And it is for the week of May 26th through June 2nd, 1978. And right now it's Friday, which would be June 2nd. And we are going to check out this evening's shows. I like to find the Hollywood Squares and read who's on Hollywood Squares, because it's always got the actors of the day on TV and movies and stuff like that. So that's always fun. So prime time evening starts at 6. It's got reruns of Odd Couple and Zoom and Andy Griffith, and it's got a bunch of news, Walters, Cronkite, Reasoner, Downs, Hughes, all those guys, Chancellor Brinkley, and more. In Search of the Real America, host Ben J. Wattenberg defends U.S. consumption and its effects on the rest of the world. Defends? How do you defend overconsumption, right? Also, we've got Hogan's Heroes. At 7 o'clock, Emergency One. Crosswits, Liars Club, with Betty White, Nipsey Russell, Mickey Manners, and Larry Hovis. Let's get to Hollywood Squares. There we go. Hollywood Squares. The squares are filled with Gary Berghoff, George Gobel, Earl Holliman, Hal Linden, Paul Lynn, Denise Nichols, Bernadette Peters, Tony Randall, and Elkie Summer. Wow, some hotties. Wow. That's great. That's a great lineup. I like that. And let's see, The Muppet Show also at 7:30. Julie Andrews. Woo! I bet she's not going to expose herself like on SOB, right? Is that what it was? Yeah. Let's see, at 8 o'clock, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. The Logans, a proudly independent family of black Mississippians in 1933, stand up to white racists in a 3-part miniseries. Let me see if I can find that. What's it called? Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Cry 19. I guess it's a new thing. Drama debut. So it's a pilot movie from 1978. Okay. And who do we have in it? Janet McLaren, Robert Christian, Morgan Freeman, a young Morgan Freeman, 78. He would have been working on the electric company at this time. Uncle Hammer. So we got Morgan Freeman. There we go. Nobody else who's noticeably notable. Okay, and then also at 8 o'clock on a Friday evening, June 2nd, 1978, we have CPO Sharky, which was one of my favorite shows. My father and I used to watch that together until we didn't have a TV, or we moved, or it was canceled or something. But I remember watching that in Fallbrook, California. I would have preferred to watch the next show, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was really my speed, because, well, not because it was a superhero show, but because of the storylines, right? The theme music, the graphics. It was just a great show. And Linda Carter, come on, hello. I was 10 years old at that point, and at that point I had already been exposed to adult stuff and sexual situations for at least 5 years. So not only was it weird to be in school with young people, but it was also weird to watch TV and think of things that were beyond your years, right? There's a debate on Proposition 13. And it doesn't say anything about what it is. That's a bummer. At 8:30, we have Chico and the Man. Chico and the Man return. Oh, wow. Ed, Jack Albertson, is sure he has another permanent border on his hands when an aspiring actress who has just hit to town spends the night in his garage. And Raoul, Gabriel Melgar, pleads with the Man to let her stay. Louis, Scatman Carruthers, Monica, Julie Hill, Flynn, Jay Gerber, Cuniff, Milt Coogan, and customer Tom Williams. So I'm sad to say that this is the return of the show after the loss of Freddie Prinze. And during the show's hiatus, Freddie Prinze killed himself in a bout of depression. Because no matter what you see, a lot of times it's only what people want you to see. So think about that. Consumer Survival Kit. Pregnancy and childbirth are subjects, including a book on a look at the cost of parental care and the report of delivery and techniques. So there you go. 1970 was the first Earth Day. 1978. By then, we had already started to take a good hard look at ourselves as humans, as consumers, as polluters, as populators, as the givers of the next generations. And by then, we should have started to fix things, but we let consumerism take over and gave free rein to those in charge. Not just the governments and those in power, but the corporations who sell us this stuff. Our say became not important. Their bottom line became the most important thing in consuming, in buying products. Cheaper to make it somewhere else. Just take American jobs away and give them to someone else who's going to make it cheaper. I mean, the 1980s was the years of companies starting to leave the United States because they could mass produce stuff elsewhere, or just buy it from another company that was producing it and still get it cheaper. Yep, by and large, Wall-E, watch that movie, Wall-E, by and large, is like their motto. And it's happening. You look around you and you see you're in that ship populated with people stuck in chairs looking at screens, not being able to move because they forgot how. At 9, ABC Theater, Eleanor and Franklin. I'll pass. Rockford Files, Straps for Cash, repeat. Larry Linville is on there, who played the weasel, the parrot-lipped weasel on MASH. Right. Incredible Hulk is also at 9. Miniseries Holocaust. I remember that miniseries. My father watched it, and so then we watched it. Operation Snafu, 1972 Italian movie. World War II, Peter Falk. Martin Landau. At 10, Quincy, a repeat. Elisha Cook Jr. Austin City Limits, Husbands, Wives, and Lovers, a comedy. World Cup Soccer from earlier. At 11, Dick Cavett, Alfred Kazin, Love American Style, 11:05, Love American Style. At 11:30, Beretta and Johnny Carson with Kelly Monteith, Animal Authority, Jim Fowler. George C. Scott in the movie, 1971 movie, The Last Run. And that's going to take us into late night and midnight special because it's Friday. The hostess is Crystal Gale. The guests are Chuck Mangione, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Eddie Rabbitt, Andy Kaufman, and a clip from The Last Waltz with Bob Dylan and the band. Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue and Cry Me a River by Crystal Gale. Baby Let Me Follow You Down, Bob. And Up on Cripple Creek, the band. Wow, that's a good show. So midnight special, and then it's into Saturday morning, and then we'll get into Saturday morning cartoons. Next TV guide. The next TV guide is going to be this one here. Will be in June, so I'm going to use one from June 11 through June 17th, and that will be for the year of 1977. So we'll look at some cartoons, and the cover of this one is Grizzly Adams and Ben the Bear. So we'll take a look at that on Monday, and we'll start with Saturday morning so we can see what kind of cartoons are going on. As Joey calls it, my iconic bong hit will follow here, and then a sip of coffee, and it'll be about time to roll end credits. I imagine that everybody has gone on to do their own thing this morning, or go back to sleep, or concern themselves with other things. I will be signing off here in a few minutes, and I'm going to have some breakfast and then think about camping. What can I do this morning to further the camping trip? And then how much time am I going to get to take a nap before I got to get up and play host and do things? Because I do require a nap during the day. It's only Friday, so it's not like I have to do a whole bunch of catch-up sleep. I've been trying to keep up on my sleep lately so that I won't have to take a huge nap during the middle of the day on a Saturday or Sunday or something. That being said, it still might happen. You never know. You never know. What's happening next week is we are going to be doing some Minecrafting on Monday evening. I'm going to be doing a normal show on Monday and Tuesday morning. And then Wednesday and Thursday mornings, I am going to be broadcasting live from Big Bear, California. And we'll be doing shows from there. It may be later in the day, or I may just do it early in the morning and do a show from inside of a tent. You never know. So we're going to give that a shot and see how that goes. I got my iconic bong hit here set up, as Joey refers to it. My wife and the dogs are still sleeping. So it gives me the opportunity to just get right back into bed. I may do that. I really should eat something. If I eat, it'll probably be a piece of cake, a piece of lemon cake or something. I can do that. I can eat cake if I want. I need a better food. I need a better food. Sorry, stomach, to keep me alive longer. To keep me alive longer. Something easy to eat that's really nourishing, that my body will take in and not give to the bad monster within. You know? Totally, man. Totally, man. Well, I guess it's about that time to say adios, because it's getting late. I want to thank you for joining me this morning. Thank you very much for stopping by, Susie and Joey, and whoever else stops by. Say hello in the comments. If you stop by after the fact, say hi. Let me know you're there. If you subscribe, I subscribe right back. I do. If you have subscribed to me, I've subscribed to you. That's how it works. It's a community thing. You take care of me, I take care of you, man. Let me know if there's something that you want to watch, and I'll see if I can dig it up for you. Okay? It's like that. It's totally like that, man. Yeah. So, you guys know what to do, right? It's a rough place out there, the world. It really is. We all need to take care of each other, you know. Yeah, I mean, it horrifies me to think that people can just hate somebody indiscriminately for no other reason than the color of their skin or some stupid reason, right? Anyway, all right, people, you know what to do. Be kind to each other. Spread peace and love, not bullshit. Do something for yourself, all right? To have fun, live your life. But see you later, brother, or real soon. Do something for yourself. Take care of each other. You know, what you do for somebody else is something that you do for yourself. So do that, all right? Most especially, stay weird out there, because if you ain't weird, ain't nobody gonna be weird for you. You gotta put in the time, man. And I tell my daughter that she's weird just because she doesn't have one tattoo, one piercing, you know. She's pretty normal. Like, comparatively. But then again, what is normal? And there's not much normal anymore. So that's like a rebel. It's just like being yourself and being unchanged by the world. All right, people. Love you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. I will see you Monday morning. Love you. Adios. See you soon, Joey.